Okay, Mommy.
Hi parents, I'm Christina Kotlis and I am your children's IEW teacher this year. We had a lot of confusion about the homework the first week, so I wanted to go through with you guys and just kind of explain a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and do that, okay? I want to start with the grammar. That seemed to be the most confusing for the students. So I don't have a student book. I only have the teacher's book. So I've printed out the sample so you can see what I'm looking at. So this is actually last week's. And what we have is each week there's a lesson. So the lesson we go over in class. So last week's lesson we learned about indenting, nouns, homophones, and end marks. So that information is right here and your student has that. So if they forgot about it, they can read back over the lesson. Okay, then there's the fix it portion. And so what they need to do is they need to go in. I got my papers out of order, give me 1 second. And it tells you right at the top here what they need to be correcting. Okay, so it tells you that they need to first, any bold words, like the word poor here is in bold. So that's a vocabulary word, and they need to, on a separate sheet of paper or in a notebook, however you're doing it, they need to define that word using the dictionary. Okay, and dictionary skills are very important. This is a great skill for them to have. Okay, then it tells them they need to look for indentations. And so you'll see right here that they're going to indent, and that'll be important later, and I'll show you. They're going to look for any homophones, and then they're going to look for end marks, and they're going to look for nouns, and they're going to label them with an N. So this first one, we see that there's an indentation mark. We mark the nouns, and we gave it a question mark because it's a question. Okay? They'll fix all of these, and they'll define all of the bold words. And then what they're going to do is I've given them paper, and we're going to keep these in class as they finish sheets of rewriting. We'll keep them in class. They each got a notebook this week, and this notebook will stay in class with me, and it's got the weeks, and they get points for their homework that they turn in on time. I will give points for homework if they're out for a week, if they're sick, but I'm not giving points for homework that's turned in late. If they don't get it, it's okay. It's not a graded class. We'll be doing a little shop at the end of this first part of the year before Christmas, and then we'll do one again at the end of the year, and so they get points to shop with, and if they miss them, then they miss them. Hopefully that will help them be inspired to get their homework done. So going back to this, after they make all of the corrections on this sheet, then they're going to take this paper that I gave them, and they need to make sure they have their name on both sides. I wrote with marker so you guys could see. Theirs won't bleed through like this. And then they'll go in and they'll write a clean copy of what they corrected. So I taught them to do an indentation. We use 2 fingers. And then they're supposed to skip lines, and you can use this little line in between as a skipped line, or they can skip lines however they want to, however you guys do paper at home. So here we have, did you ever hear the story of the 3 poor soldiers, question mark? And we don't put any of the noun marks, we don't put the indentation mark, we do put the question mark, and as we go on and we start adding things like commas and semicolons, all of that will go on here, and they'll just add, so here's day 1, and then when they do day 2, they'll start right here. They had fought, and they'll just keep going. So at the end of the year, they'll have this entire story of the nose tree written out nicely in this folder, which will also have their final copies of their IEW writing, okay? So what you need to do to help your student to be successful at this is you need to look at what they need to be doing, and again, that's on the top of the page that they're supposed to be correcting. So this week we're on week 2 of grammar, and it'll tell you right at the top what they need to be looking for. Then they need to correct each one, and after they've corrected it, they're going to go onto that special piece of paper, and they're going to write it nicely, and they're going to make sure they do things like indent and put their punctuation that they've added in, but they're not going to add the marks for like nouns and verbs and things like that. Okay, so that is the grammar. Okay, now the next thing that they need to do this week is they need to be finishing up lesson 2 from our IEW book, okay? And so that is called A Giant Leap. It's lesson 2. And the assignment is right here. Okay, we did the review in class, and then we did the first keyword outline in class. So what you need to do with them is to make sure that they've gone through and they've done the second one, which is called lineys. Okay, and the way you do a keyword outline, if you're not familiar with it, is that you're going to go through and read the paper, and then you're going to go through again, and for each sentence, okay, each individual sentence gets a line. So here's a sample, okay? So we've got English sailors were once called limeys. So we take the 3 or 4 most important words and we put them here with commas in between, and your student has this chart that I gave them, which has symbols and abbreviations for note-taking. Symbols and abbreviations and pictures do not count towards the 3 or 4 words, so they're a great way to help yourself have some more words, okay? So I've got English sailors =, limeys, okay? That tells me English sailors were called limeys. These are the most important words from that sentence, okay? Then I'm going to go through again, and I'm going to read the second sentence. You see, about 200 years ago, many of them were getting a disease called scurvy. So again, I'm going to come over to my keyword outline. 200 years ago, disease, scurvy. Okay, the most important words. That's why it's called a keyword outline. These are the keywords, okay? You're going to do that for every single sentence in this story, and that's their assignment for this week. Now, once they're done with that, the other part of the lesson 2 assignment tells you that they need to practice telling back the information one line at a time, okay? They can pick a giant leap. They can pick any of the ones from week 1. I think there was like the smelling giant, and I don't remember what the other ones were. There were 3 the first week. There's 2 this second week. They can pick any one keyword outline that they would like, and then what they should do is they should not look at this at all, okay? Whatever one they pick, they should not look at the story. They should only look at the keyword outline, and they're going to practice telling you the story using their keyword outline in their own words. The goal is not to repeat this back, okay? We don't want them to memorize this story as it was written. We want them to use their keyword outline and practice telling the story back in their own words, okay? So they'll sit there and they'll go through with you and say, a long time ago, English sailors were called limeys. This is because 200 years ago, they were getting a disease called scurvy. A doctor figured out that lime juice prevented scurvy. So English ships started carrying barrels of limes, and because the soldiers drank the lime juice, people called them limeys. Now we know that vitamin C is what helped the sailors. Today we know there are 13 vitamins that keep us healthy, okay? So I just went through, and using just my keyword outline, I retold that story. It is not the same verbatim, but it tells the story using the keyword outline. And so this coming week in class, each student will get up, and whatever keyword outline they're using, they'll get to take their keyword outline up, and they're going to tell the story to the class. So it would be really, really, really helpful to them if you would practice this with them at home, so the first time they're getting up in front of someone and reading from a keyword outline isn't when they're doing it in front of their friends. One of the things you should know is that if they decide to do a giant leap, sorry, there's a little bug there. If they decide to do a giant leap, there's a note on the bottom telling you that they can actually write out the quote from Neil Armstrong. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. They can write that on a little index card. They should not write it on their keyword outline. We don't want them to get into the habit of writing quotes on their keyword outline, but they can write it on a little index card or something so that when they're up just telling it to the class, they don't feel like they're going to have to remember that entire thing. So, again, please make sure you're going through with your student and helping them to get this homework done, because at this point, since it's so new, it's very different for them, and it's very frustrating if they're trying to do it on their own. And this is a homework class, so I do expect their homework to be done every week, and if they get behind, it's going to be really hard for them to catch up, especially with the grammar, because each week we are adding these new terms every week that they're going to be looking for. So if they don't learn what a noun is and they don't learn what a verb is, it's going to be even harder as we're getting to things like direct objects and things like that. So please make sure that you're making sure their homework's done. Please make sure that you know how it's supposed to look, so that if you're just going through and checking for them, you at least know, oh, well, they didn't mark the stuff that's on the top of this sheet, so I know that they didn't get it quite done how they needed to. Okay, this week we just checked for completeness, but we will be checking their grammar for actual correctness this week, and we will be looking for them to have done the nice copy on this special paper. Like I said, that way at the end of the year we'll be able to have in their folder a full copy of this story that they've edited, as well as final copies of all of their papers that they'll have written for IEW. I hope that helps you guys to understand the homework and to understand what it is that we're doing. If you have any other questions, please feel free to call or email. I thought that the video would be helpful so you guys could see what I was talking about instead of just trying to read it through the email. Hopefully it helped. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to be in touch, and thanks so much for letting me teach your students this year. Have a great day.